Hey, everybody. This is Dr. Andrea Adams Miller and my co host, Ellen Harris, and welcome to our programming. We have a really fun evening with you guys. We have Emily Crume, who's going to be joining us, and she's going to be talking about a conference that they have coming up regarding crypto and business. And they're really taking an educational approach the more I was learning about that. So it'll be a really great show for us to talk about that. You know, in the past, we always are talking about educating yourself, becoming more confident in what you know about crypto and how you function in the world and all of that. How are you doing, Ellen?
I'm doing well, Andrea. How are you? Good to see you.
Hunky dory. I know it's been a while since I had a break and then we had the holiday. So it seems like we haven't seen each other in years.
It does. It does. But it's good to be back, and it's good to see you, and it's good to hang out with the crypto audience.
Yes, it is. And I wanted to let everybody know what's been going on. We do have some things coming up in the world. There is going to be NFT Connect evening in Philadelphia on July 19th. If you want more information, reach out to me and I can pass that along so you'll know what's going on there. It's kind of like a relaxed, comfortable meet and greet from what I understand. So it'll be a great opportunity for people to connect and learn more about what we have to offer in the NFT Connect world, in the Bees.Social world, or socialbees.io world, which is one and the same thing. And we want to remind everyone that we are sponsored by Bees.Social and socialbees.io, as well as the redcarpetconnection.com and business-accelerated.com, which is Ellen's business. And Ellen, did you have any news or anything that you wanted to share tonight?
No, I'm just in from a flight, and so I'm just gonna hang out for today.
All right, sounds lovely. Well, let's go. Oh, thank you, Rickster. Thank you, Rickster, for even putting that up, so I can remind everyone to thank Rickster Scherer for us. Rick Scherer, he's our IT technical director here for Women in Crypto. So we're so thankful for you to keep us on the ball and keep us on task. And we want to remind people that we have Twitter Spaces open 24/7. If you would like to share, talk, discuss, learn what other people are doing in the crypto space. So that's at crypto_swarm. And that is on Twitter Spaces. So that is open. And there's been some really beautiful conversations that I have heard about, have been involved in, and so forth. So we welcome you to join in on the conversation. So let me introduce Emily. Emily, why don't we just go ahead and bring her on, Rickster, and kind of Emily. Mike, I'm at a different computer tonight. So we'll just say my mom is sponsoring my space. She's mymakeuplady.com. We have a Elon Musk internet, and I have so many glitches. I thought, okay, mom, I need to borrow your house, your internet, and your makeup because I was in the pool. So I can't reach my internet to read your bio. So, Emily, will you kind of tell us a little bit about you and your past and how you came to be? Because I know you and I are we
New
know
friends.
each other. Yeah.
And we actually met at a crypto conference or I call it DeFi conference. So,
Yeah.
I work for a media and education company. Our hallmark is teaching marketers how to use social media. If you are in marketing and social media, you might be familiar with socialmediaexaminer.com. We produce one of the world's largest social media marketing conferences, but we understand that the trend or the opportunity for businesses to evolve with the future comes from Web3. And that encompasses a lot of different things like crypto and DAOs and NFTs. And so we've been researching, exploring this while my boss has created the Crypto Business Podcast. And it's really business for businesses, marketers, entrepreneurs, and creators. And we want to do what we did for social media for this evolving, emerging space of Web3.
Well, I think that's absolutely fascinating. Ellen, and those of you who are listening, I actually know of Emily through a third party as well. So I have the Keep Smiling movement, nonprofit. And years ago, we were covering, actually, we were doing photography for traffic and conversion. And at the time, the social media conference was taking place across the way, and we decided to conquer and divide, and I sent my partner there, and he met Emily and hung out with them for part of a day or a day or two, and then I took care of traffic and conversion, and then we reconvened. So I knew of her and never got to meet her in person. And then we were in Orlando at Permissionless, and I just randomly ran into Emily, and there you go. So very exciting. So Emily, tell us a little bit, about the different elements of what you guys are engaging in and how you're sharing that, so that the people who don't understand or don't have the background to know what you did with a social media event, of how you're doing that and being very purposeful in what you're doing here.
Great, thanks. So being a media and education company, we use different types of media to educate, empower, inform communities or niche markets about what's happening. So Mike Stelzner launched in January the Crypto Business Podcast, and he's been systematically researching and finding individuals who are kind of pioneers and paving the way in this space and doing deep dive interviews. He's got a lot of expertise. He has a successful social media marketing podcast with more than 30 million views. So he wants to interview the same types of people in this space. And we've been using that as a launch pad. And then we announced probably about a month and a half ago, the Crypto Business Conference, which will be in San Diego this October, with a focus on education and teaching marketers, entrepreneurs, and creators what they need to know in order to take advantage or be maybe a first mover in this space. We're also been looking for female founders and people that are doing this. So he's got a number of interviews with some really smart ladies that are doing some cool things in the space from a variety of different aspects or angles. Some of the people that were involved in early DAOs or that are doing generative art with NFTs or other unique types of projects.
Beautiful. Well, it's good to hear that they, want to be more gender oriented. Ellen and I always appreciate that, and I'm sure you do as well, Emily. Especially being on a Women in Crypto show.
Exactly. Well, I think there's a great focus. There's a lot of talent, and women want to make sure that we don't get left behind. I've kind of been following along in the space. I used to have a group that I would connect women in social media, and I did a meetup, and I'm thinking I need to do the same type of a thing at this crypto business conference just to connect women, because we're powerful together, and a lot of people want to meet new people, make connections, and that's sort of one of the things that I think women do better than men, perhaps.
Well, I certainly love that. One of the things that I've been doing through the media and press area is, and so for those of you who might be new to watching this, so the Red Carpet Connection is my business, and I own a publicity, publishing, and sponsorship acquisition company, and then I also founded and am the executive director for a nonprofit called the KeepSmilingMovement.org. And so I've been talking to a lot of people on how do they, like all the different places that I go, and, I do media pass and interview different people on what I'm learning, what all this new intervention that's coming up, and then how nonprofits can be merged and brought into that. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, Emily, because that's one of the things I've been thinking about, is doing a mastermind around that area. I love meetup groups, but I like masterminds better if we get to travel and go somewhere together. So I was thinking of taking it up a notch, and that's so that we can have this well-rounded opportunity to hear what other people are into and what they have going on. I'm finding that it's almost like playing the old game telephone, where everybody has to talk to someone so you can find out what's exactly going on in the world, because there's such a variety of ideas and concepts.
Yeah, I think
Emily,
the in real life thing, this is great, but the in real life thing is sort of the priceless aspect of learning and connecting. So
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ellen.
thanks. Emily, quick question. This is a highly growing area, okay? And a lot of people aren't familiar with it. And if we're really looking at women or targeting women because we don't always stay up to speed, how do you attract or recommend attracting the younger women?
actually, I think the younger women are the ones that are sort of pulling traditional business owners, marketers, and other people that are interested in, sort of trends for business. I'm seeing a lot of these, projects, and some of the interviews and the people that I see, in charge of these divisions or organizations and doing the exploration are a lot younger. They're much more in tuned, I think, digitally. I think cryptocurrency as a category or an aspect has been around maybe for 10 years, but it's gotten more popular in the last maybe 5 years. People have become
Yes.
more interested in Bitcoin and how does that work. I also think that there are roots in gaming and art and music, sort of the way these communities manage themselves through Discord, that's like native to gamers, right? That's really a platform that's been used for gamers. And this concept of play to earn, that they talk about in the metaverse, or work to earn, and other things, are sort of things that are not necessarily native to me, right? I'm more traditional business, but this thing called the internet came along, 25, 30 years ago, where now everybody has email and they're connected, and you have, a supercomputer in your hand called your mobile phone. I think to get people interested in this and invested in this, it has to be part of the news cycle. Maybe that's where Andrea's expertise comes in from a public relations standpoint. People are talking about it. It's becoming popular. Not only from the investment side of the house because of what's going on sort of semi-tragically in cryptocurrency markets, where valuations are suffering, but then, within these periods of challenges, opportunity emerges, and people that pay attention and sort of follow along and look for new spaces to create new opportunities for their business. I think those are the people that are going to excel. And if you're smart, you will, read all of the news and find resources that are going to help you. I was encouraged to see that you have a Twitter space, and I'm going to tune into that because I think Twitter is another aspect or another really active community of people that are talking about all of these different types of things. And we've actually started a Twitter space ourselves. So Mike and a new co-host are going to go on a Twitter space every Thursday, and they are going to sort of educate people and bring people into this new space by talking about it, answering questions, and the like. And so I'm excited to see what your crypto space is like.
Oh, well, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. We have a very active group of people. So Bees.Social's background, to catch people up to date who may not know. Let's see, 2 years ago, April, I came in to the bee community because they were looking for more people who were movers and shakers, and who were helpers and had a humanitarian heart, is what I was told by my friends who asked me to come in, and that we're focused on word of mouth as a form of advertising, rather than and being more of a a sharer rather than a seller or a puller in. And I didn't know anything about cryptocurrency, and what I had heard, I'd been kind of like, and wasn't kind of ready for it. I didn't think, but I'm like, sure, I know it's coming. I'll come and learn. And what I learned then, at the time, at the time there was 48 of the founding people that were like the founding members, and then we had a group of founding, like we call them founding members as well, but they were investors. So we had a $30 million investment that they'd already been working over 3.5 years to create, knowing at some point they wanted their own DAO, their own tokens, their own coins, their own community. And we're really looking futuristically into creating this. And so then over the last 2 years, those things have formed. So we started off by doing and trying our liquidity pools on DeFi and seeing how those went. And then we created some things like called a whale tank, Emily, where we were allowing other people who had projects that were involved to come in and to let us know what they had going on. And then we voted on whether to accept them, to kind of like love on them and help them. And so I kind of want to hear what you think about that. And then maybe I'll tell you a little bit more, because it is a really fun story and people don't always get to know how these DAOs come about.
Yeah. Well, whale tank, I'm assuming that's a play on Shark Tank, and whales being a term that the degens, actively refer to in this space. I'm learning this whole new vocabulary, which is kind of wild and fun all at the same time. So I didn't know the genesis of your Bees.Social, but I agree with you. Nonprofits and philanthropic organizations are going to definitely be able to take advantage of sort of these new foundations to set up, their outreach, their fundraising, all of these things, because DAOs are perfectly suited for that. They operate like boards in a community where maybe there's voting protocols or, majority, types of information, majority rules, right? And so I think there's a couple stories that go around about DAOs. And I think once people sort of hear these stories and they get interested in it, it's kind of cool. One in particular that comes to mind is the Constitution DAO. And that was and that came about via Twitter, right? People that had not known each other, but Twitter allows people to form certain communities around topics of interest. And the last known physical copy of the Constitution was coming up for auction at one of the auction houses. I don't know if it was Sotheby's or Christie's. And 6 of them are owned by private owners, probably gazillionaires. And this one last copy was coming up for sale. And so somebody suggested on Twitter, we should form a DAO and buy this. And they actually did form a decentralized autonomous organization called the Constitution DAO, and were able to allow people to invest, and they amassed a great deal of money. Unfortunately, they weren't able to win, be the winning bid, but it was a real life, real world, in real time case study of how this could feasibly change the course of business, industry, society, a lot of things. And so I think that sort of opened people's eyes. A more fun example would be the Pizza DAO. And that one is all around pizza. So I think, your Social Bees whale tank, if your goal is to, help businesses get up to speed here, there's probably a lot of good things that you could do.
Yeah, it's funny. When I heard you say bees and then say whale tank, I'm like, why didn't we have it as a bee thing? But we weren't bees yet. We were at the time. We were calling ourselves Opus, which is like our mother organization of people, Opus.finance, and so that's kind of what we referred to everything as. And then we realized that this was going to be its own separate entity. And so when we had this whale, the whale, the person who holds all the coins is the whale. And we wanted to help support So we have a missions group, an anime group. We have Starwire, which is smart contracts for people in entertainment, and some other organizations as well that came at 7 of them collectively. And then what we did then is as people came in and supported those different entities within our pools and so forth, then we actually rewarded them for investing in themselves by giving them what we call seeds. So at someday, I have a bunch of millions of seeds that someday will have a value that we'll be able to do something with, and those will be used for something. And then when the bees, we decided, oh, we need to be something more. Where this is a separate entity. It was really about community, and I think that's what made it feel so good, is that there was people we could bounce ideas off of. And while we don't provide financial advice, we do know that we're collectively doing this. So, when everything went up, we all went up together. When everything went down, we all kind of know how everybody feels. It all happened to all of us, and we're really a long haul group. We're in it for the long haul, and so we're always looking for new interventions and new ideas. And we actually are auction.
You froze, Andrea.
I saw myself spinning. That was exciting. We have different princesses and queen bees and other bees that are available for NFT. And when we first released NFTs, we sold over 10,000 bees in less than 20 hours. To over 6,000 people. So it was quite fun. So we've really matured to be a really nice group that's really playing a game at a high level, and really want to create a large community of people who can make financial decisions. And one of the main things when we talked about humanitarian is we wanted people to feel like their cryptocurrency was their vote on making decisions for things that they wanted in the world. So yeah, it's been really fun. So that's bees.
And how did you two get connected? Through this
The bees.
organization? Yeah.
Yeah, Ellen,
Yes.
you had another show. Do you want to share what your other show was, and we'll give some love to Christopher, who's passed?
Oh, yes. I was doing a podcast called Make Your Pitch. And just today, I discovered an entire group of startups who are looking for advertising and just to be exposed to the internet media. And I said, okay, there's my target. Those are the people I want to reach out to. So that's how I got started, or how I got involved in podcasting. And Andrea, I like to say, she was across town doing some work with podcasts, and we happened to coincide with each other and landed here. And it's been a great collaboration ever since.
Mm-hmm.
That's
We had
amazing.
some other women who had initially started the show and then brought Ellen in, and I was a guest now and again. And then they had other things that they were interested and wanted to be involved in. So I stepped in, and Ellen was already active with them, and Ellen stayed with me to help me co-host. So that's what we've been doing. So I go to different events and meet different people. And then for me, so I have another business as well called Ignite Your Relationships, and it's for relationships and intimacy, touches on sexuality as well. And through the year, for 13 years, I had an online radio show all over the world on a regular terrestrial station. I guess it wasn't online; it was also online, but it was a terrestrial station, and had followers in multiple countries. And I always interviewed all the other experts, and then after 13 years, you also become one of them. And that's what I've been wanting to do for the women in crypto. Is there is a certain knowledge that I have, but the more people that we interview with other ideas and innovations and creative ideas, the more we're able to learn about what's available, so that we can then share it with other people, so that they come in at a knowledge, so they can make decisions for themselves on how they want to pursue being in the crypto world. So kind of
And
how.
I heard a statistic last night that said if you've been doing what you're doing for 10 years or more, you are a de facto expert. So welcome to the expert world, Andrea
Well, if you've
Miller.
been doing something wrong for 10 years, you're an expert in that too.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah. So, Emily, how did how did you even come into the social media world then? And because I'm curious about that, how that came for you.
Through marketing and advertising. So my background is in B2B technology media. So I am old enough to remember when we sold ads in magazines. There was trade
Yes.
magazines or technical magazines. And so I know, more than I need to about bits and bytes and tech and hardware and software, et cetera, which, an interest in that sort of brought me to advertising, because as the internet sort of became a thing, right, in early 2000s, even to the late 1999 into the 2000s, everybody was talking about this thing called the internet, right? And so I went and sold digital advertising for a while, and technical in technical communities, and then I went to work for a little company called Digg,
Oh, I
which
remember
was
that. Hmm.
the first, really the truly the first social signal on the internet, where there was interactivity, because the news was voted on by the wisdom of the crowds, pretty much. And helped them, was part of a team that launched a native advertising platform, which was based on an auction. Ended up going for a brief stint to another community of women moms, Cafe Mom. And then Mike, my boss, is he and I had worked together, but we always sort of had this little parallel path. And I knew that he had launched Social Media Examiner, and I had been following along. And of course, this is the time when everybody's getting involved in Twitter. So, I call myself one of the OGs of Twitter. We had all these friends, and we'd go to tweet ups, and we were just exploring this. We were so excited about
Yes.
this, and of course, everybody got Facebook, and then, Instagram comes along and all these things. But so I was active in social, but the opportunity became more clear to me that businesses were going to be able to take advantage of these platforms to connect with their consumers, their constituents, et cetera, maybe to sell things, right? And so, now everybody is very familiar with social selling, et cetera. So I came on board when we were launching Social Media Marketing World. And so I've been here for nearly 10 years, seen some trends and transitions. But really, Mike got bit by the crypto bug, and kind of really, he used Clubhouse. If you guys know what Clubhouse is,
Yes.
everybody was on Clubhouse for audio connection during the pandemic. We didn't want to be camera ready. We were Zooming already, but we wanted to stay connected. And that was, to me, that was like real-time terrestrial talk radio, right? I used to listen to talk radio all the time, and I thought it was great, or satellite radio. Here, you could just dial into any conversation. So we got a lot of marketers on Clubhouse, but he also started learning about more about cryptocurrency, and then could see the parallel, right? Could see that this was going to be the next way that really society is going to create new opportunities for themselves, because there's a lot of opportunity to be had. And not that people are ever going to leave social, but maybe they'll have different purposes or different uses. And,
Yes.
we want to evolve. And there's, a lot of theories, marketing theories, business theories, but about your 1,000 true fans. And if crypto or Web3 can allow you to connect with those, 1,000 or 100 true fans, whatever that number may be, and go direct and build a community that has, financial stability, opportunity, rewards, on up to, big companies using this technology. I think there's a big future there.
I am with you on that. It's been just recent. So I had mentioned that I do sponsorship as well, and while I had talked about doing sponsorship for crypto events, it wasn't until the last couple of weeks I was like, wait a minute, why am I not pulling sponsorship into the crypto world in a different way? Because
Yeah.
there's many opportunities for that to be there as well. And I've shared on the show before. I almost, it seems like every week I bring up Second Life. Do you remember Second Life, Emily? So, and so for those of you who are new to the show, Second Life was when you could have an avatar and go into an online world and buy paintings and clothes and do everything that you're doing in metaverses now.
They had trade shows in Second Life. I mean, it was really the precursor to this concept of the metaverse. And so really old ideas are still sort of valid and kind of being, I guess, reformed, refined. Innovation is happening on top of that, right?
Yeah, it's been quite interesting. And then I it wasn't until actually we had an NFT1 conference, NFT.1 or NFT Connect.1 conference in Austin a couple weeks ago. Well, I guess it's been like 5 or 6 weeks ago now. And I was at that event and they were talking about some different things with community and how people get along. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, here's another application of my dissertation. So I did a dissertation on online support groups for women. And so I'd studied all these different groups of women with different illnesses and so forth, and what I saw and how they talked and who took lead and all the different characters and roles that people took on. And as they were on stage talking about the communities within, like how we used to be on Zoom and now we have a community in Discord. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing the same behaviors, the same connections. Like, are people being altruistic? Are there always that one that's only about themselves? Are the people that are cathartic the sense of belonging, the familial aspects, all these different characteristics about it? Then I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening again. And then here, now that I'm looking at it even further on who goes to the events together, who's within a different world, who owns different, whether they own a bee or a pizza or a whatever, how do they integrate together? And then and then I did some other work on pulp culture on how to get a following, that cult following. And I did that for books and publishing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is circling around again. And it's making me giggle. So is it either that I've gotten old enough that I'm seeing the trends repeat? And next thing you know, I'll be wearing a side ponytail with my jumper. Like,
Right. I'll be parting my hair in the middle like the girl, the young girls do or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, it's been really fun. So, is there some new things that you're allowed to reveal to us that we get, like some teasers for
Well,
what
you talked about information and education. There is kind of a rationale or a business case or what we're calling a Web3 primer, right? So how to understand this new era of, it's called internet innovation, right? Because we had Internet 1, Web 2, Web 1, Web 2. We're kind of in Web 2.5, and how do we, cross the chasm into Web 3? So we do have a page up, and so there's sort of a little bit of information. The other way that people could learn is joining our Twitter Spaces on Thursday evenings, there's so much information I can't even tell you, but there's a couple. We met at permissionless, bankless, sign up for newsletters, connect in. I think if you type in Women of Web3, you'll find probably 3 or 5 or 10 communities of people that are connecting in different places and spaces. Businesses are promoting it. There's different collections of art, women in tech, or crypto women in tech, or crypto tech women is one of the projects. There's so many. We're just trying to circulate around all of them. Another thing that I'm doing to help myself, and also anybody that's sort of following along with us, is I curate an events list of upcoming crypto events. Typically would be more in person. So we met at Permissionless, which was an in-person event in Florida. You mentioned going to Austin. I think there was a big event in Texas.
Consensus,
Consensus.
Decentral Con, and NFT Connect. So there were 3 that were going on at the same time. Consensus was the big one.
Yeah.
It met some really cool people there as well. Yeah.
And just even going to those conferences or meetups, or listening in on Twitter Spaces, or ways to connect and meet people, and to become more familiar with things. So yeah, I don't know if you want me to drop links, or I have a couple of links that maybe you could share in the show
Yeah,
notes.
we'd be happy to share them. If you want to share them in our chat behind, Rickster will put them up for us and can share
Awesome.
those.
Yeah. I think, sharing is caring, and this is how we all learn, right? So I just dropped in a link to this curated list of upcoming events. And if anybody knows of any in real life, in-person events, and they want to get them listed there, I'd love to connect with them. There's some contact information there.
Be lovely.
Yeah.
We do have some people right now that represent the bees, Starwire, which is also Mofo Goats. We have an NFT for called the Goats for Starwire, and so they're called the Mofo Goats. And some of those were done by a famous painter, Archer, and so that's exciting as well. But some of them, the representatives are at the Metaverse conference in California. So they are there. I believe that's about tokenizing. Silicon Valley is maybe part of the aspects of that show. I don't know all the details of it. I purposely didn't want to know because I was feeling FOMO. I like going to events, and in the summer, I try to stay home as much as possible because I like to swim with the grandchildren. And so I was in the pool. I kept saying, "Don't get my hair wet," and they're like, "You never want to get your hair wet." I said, "Only on Mondays. Only on Mondays. Only when I'm going to be on TV." So I did last year do a couple of them when the other women were still on. I would do them from the pool because I didn't have to leave.
Hey, this is the beauty of technology. Any place, anytime, anywhere. And the more sort of authentic, I guess, living our lives that we can be, good for us, right? That's living a good life, is enjoying what you do and having fun while you're doing it, right?
Yeah. And that reminds me, is with people being in the metaverse. So last year during COVID and so forth, I was speaking. I actually got to a point where I guess I can say frequently. It was a hybrid of a metaverse where you could go in and you could play basketball or soccer, do meditation on a field, and you could drive a speedboat, go to a dance club, go to a trade show, and then you could speak with your avatar. And then I would have my avatar speak and then have my avatar refer to me. And then I would come on green screen on the PowerPoint so that people could actually see me as well. And then I even did a hypnosis with just my avatar and had everybody come together. And that was the funniest part because we were in a field. And so, you can dance as an avatar and usually, but when you sit, they all would, sit like this. So that there's nothing under their butt. They would all sit. And so it was funny, like everybody's squatting in the field. But so I did a hypnosis with, I don't know, 24 people or whatever, and was able to do a whole group hypnosis class, through that. And it's been fun because people don't realize, some people are just focused on the gaming aspect and don't realize you can still do personal development. We can still do news shows. We can still do trade shows like you were mentioning, Emily. And what are some other things that maybe I don't know of?
Well, I mean, I attended an actual trade show that was, I guess it would have been considered metaverse. You had to create an avatar, and it was a little bit weird, but you could walk into a circle and then start a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And that was, I forget what the technology was for that particular instance. But yeah, I think this notion that we're going to be having offline and online sort of personas that can interact. I actually had a meeting in a metaverse with a potential client who has a technology, and she invited me into this meeting, which was kind of like a Zoom, but I had to have an avatar. What was sort of a little bit disconcerting was the technology was not quite there yet. I don't know. My avatar kept going like this, and I'm like, what's wrong with my avatar?
Start banging.
And she said that, you know, originally when they launched the product, the avatars just sort of stood still unless you moved them, right, with your mouse or whatever it was.
Oh.
And that sort of disconcerted people, or they thought that their thing was freezing or whatever. So they gave it a couple of movements. And I said, well, it might be just a little better if it didn't look like I was having a seizure in the middle of our meeting.
And then other people are going, it's just natural. People have tics. Leave it alone. Yeah, it is. It is interesting. I met a gentleman who had talked about hiring me, and then he ended up hiring my girlfriend because he wasn't ready for me for publicity yet. He really needed more of a better idea of what his business plan was. He has this idea of working through multiple different platforms so that people can have an avatar that can have its clothes and its hair and what, you know, facial features or whatever across multiple, so they could go to different places and look the same. And I really did love that idea, but I was thinking that is quite a feat to be able to master everybody's platform and be able to cross paths. So you know, if he's able to pull it off, fantastic. I think that would be a nice use, and then also weird. But I do have to say I like those. I do like this. However, I do like being on the phone more, or on Clubhouse more, or sometimes Twitter Spaces more, where I can be walking around doing other things while I'm talking to you. I am a multitasker, so I used to be able to, you know, wash dishes, pick up, sort papers, file things, because there are things that didn't need any of my mental takeaway.
Right.
And then now I have to sit here.
Well, I think the tendency is you get distracted, like, oh my God, you know, is my eyebrow up, you know, or whatever. You look at yourself where maybe you're a little bit more relaxed in an audio situation. But you're right. I do love to multitask too. I'm always working at my computer, listening to, you know, a podcast or some audio file, or maybe it's on YouTube, but I'm just listening to it. But, you know, yeah. A lot of different learning styles and a lot of different information out there.
Yeah. Rickster had to get after me because being a publicist, okay, so like I've gotten 3 phone calls and 17 texts in the last 40 minutes, and of clients and other people who need things. And so I've now taught, after Rickster said, Andrea, you're always looking down. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll not look at my phone. And so I've told all my clients, if you have an emergency, you're out of luck until 6:45, and then I'll look at it and help you. And so I usually try to plan ahead. If anybody has a radio show or something tonight, I'm like, you got to have asked me. You've got to try your system before 5 because I can't help you. And it's funny that you mentioned about looking at yourself. I try to never look at myself on the screen. I always look at the green dot.
That's a good tip.
So, and then I really learned so from hypnosis, and as a teaching tool, because I used to teach, I said, so I taught school in 7 different departments, 13 different classes at 2 different schools. So there's a thing called hakalau, and hakalau is when that's a Hawaiian term. So it's when you look up, like you're looking up into your eyebrow, like you're almost rolling your head back, your eyebrows back in. And then if you do that and have your hands out to you to the side, I can't do it because you won't be able to see me. But if you do that, the longer your eyes are there, the more you can pull back your fingers and you can still see them. So then if you then look down, your eyes can see the person down here on the screen. So you can see the screen and you can still make eye contact with them, but actually make eye contact with them through your green dot.
Interesting.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen this technology because I deal with a lot of products, right? So, you know, marketers, people that are doing digital stuff need products, right? Sometimes it's cameras, sometimes it's my ring light, right? But there's this thing on a plastic plexiglass thing where you can mount your camera in the middle of your screen, so that if you had to be reading slides or something like that for a presentation or whatever, so it's kind of their hack or workaround for the teleprompter, so that somebody could read their slides and still be looking directly into the camera. But I'm always really impressed with broadcasters and people that have that ability to, their eyes don't look like they're going like this, but they're reading something, and they're able to be calm and relaxed and making eye contact through the camera.
So some of those things I learned through theater. So on how, where to have my eyes and how to look like I'm talking to someone when I'm not. Excuse me.
She might need some water.
I do need some, but I don't have any with me. So unless I drink my mom's makeup products, I'm out of luck. But yeah. So Ellen, did you have any other questions? I'm actually going to choke here a minute.
Okay. Well, Emily, you are a very interesting person, and I like what you're doing. Where do you see the future of the work that you're doing in the cryptocurrency space?
Well, I think in general, overall, being a media and education company, this is probably a space that's going to require learning and continual development, advancement, understanding, because if you've been involved in tech for any bit of time or any kind of digital world, that things continue to evolve, and if you want to be top in your field or top at what you do, you always have to keep up. So I think there will always be news and information that needs to be decoded. One of the ways that we like to help our audiences is by giving them long form, here's how to do something, right? So I imagine that we will have a blog that will have similar information that will keep crypto business enthusiasts and businesses interested in this topic up to date. So the first step for us was launching a new source, which is the podcast. The event is going to be a great gathering of people that just want to be at the forefront, right? And then hopefully we'll make this into an every year gathering and experience where we can help people in real life, meet the people that they want to learn from, network with peers. I mean, I think there's great value in those kinds of things. And I think that's one of the reasons why real life events work so well, and how Andrea and I were able to get together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely a connection is, for me, what we found worked best, for this entity, for this DAO, for the bees, and then for me and my whole world, it's always been about connection. So, well, with that, we are oh, my mom is bringing me something to drink. I finished her wine, and now she brought me water.
Okay.
It's nice to have your parents care about you. And so thank you, mymmakeuplady.com. We'll give my mom extra love of sponsorship today. We want to remind people, please go check out socialmediaexaminer.com/crypto-events, so you can learn more about Emily's event and what they have going on. And the Crypto Business Conference, again, is socialmediaexaminer.com/CB conference. So thank you. Thank you, Rickster. And you've been listening to Women in Crypto here. I'm Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller, the Red Carpet Connection. We had Ellen Harris, business-accelerated.com. They do consulting for businesses. And then Emily Crume, so from the Social Media Examiner. Super wonderful woman, very charismatic, doing some amazing things in the world. Thank you so much for joining us, Emily. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you later. Keep smiling, everyone.
Yes.